Thanks for buying the bonus, the extra $10 I'm using to travel around this nation to speak out on our war against drugs. You're going to see me when I was really young, when I was working at the Permian Basin Drug Task Force, making this hidden compartment video. I traveled all over the state of Texas with this same uncut hidden compartment video, training law enforcement officers what type of crazy compartment smugglers use. What we'd like to show you this afternoon are several false and modified compartments that the Permian Basin Drug Task Force has encountered on the West Texas highways in our jurisdiction. Let's go to the bullpen. The first modified compartment we'd like to start with is on this 1983 Ford LTD. This vehicle had a total of $95,000 cash wrapped in duct tape, hidden in various locations of the vehicle. The first location was the blower motor compartment of the LTD. The Mercury Marquis also have a similar compartment. When the hood was lifted, the investigator noticed that the screws holding the vent plate were only hand tight. The investigator also noticed that a piece of black plastic was underneath the vent compartment, which is not natural. It's supposed to be completely uncovered. When the vent plate was removed, the sheet of black plastic was removed. There was also a sheet of Bounty fabric softener, and inside were 10 bundles wrapped in gray duct tape. Each bundle contained approximately $5,000 cash, for a grand total in the blower motor compartment of $50,000. Okay, prior to the investigator searching the motor compartment and locating the $50,000 U.S. currency, the narcotic detector K9 alerted to the rocker panel area and the interior underneath the glove box. That would be consistent to where the source was located, because the blower motor vent hooks up to the vent on the interior, thereby the odor pouring out of that area and a K9 indicating. Okay, we're still on the same Ford LTD. As I indicated earlier, the dog did alert to the rocker panel areas. Rocker panels are common places for smugglers to hide contraband. They're very easy to detect. What the investigator noticed when he opened the door after the canine alert, that there was fresh dirt mashed into the screws of the rocker panel cover plate. The smugglers had mashed the fresh dirt into the screws to keep the investigators from noticing that the screws had recently been removed. Also a good test on these rocker panels, if you'll get a screwdriver and attempt to take the screws out, if they come out fairly easy, that's an indicator that they've been in and out, and it's possibly a smuggling rocker panel. Another indicator are mismatched screws. We commonly find these rocker panel loads with a Phillips head screw on one and a flat head screw in the other, and then maybe a missing screw. As you can see, when this flash plate is removed, you can see where the smugglers cut a small hole. Between the two rocker panels on this car, there were $45,000 more cash, for a grand total of $95,000 hidden in the rocker panels. All cars have rocker panels, and they're hollow. It makes an excellent place for smugglers to hide contraband. There is another way that the smugglers will access these void compartments in the vehicle, and that would be under the fender well. In this area right here, as you can see, that would lead, if we cut a hole in that, that would lead to the rocker panel. An easy way of detecting these is to get a screwdriver, which This one hasn't been altered at this area, but just scratch and scrape. And usually it'll be a gooey substance that they've put back over the hole or Bondo and then sprayed it with undercoating. A lot of times when you find a compartment this way, you'll have to jack up the vehicle, remove the rear spare tire, get the hole knocked out to remove the contraband. Okay, something I'd like to mention before we leave this car. We've noticed that the vehicles that have hidden compartments and altered compartments, we've noticed that the key ring that they're using to start the vehicle with usually contains only 2 keys, the ignition key and the trunk key. It might have a smaller key on it also for the gas cap compartment. You and I, if you'll look at your key ring, we usually have house keys and other lock keys. But these vehicles that have the modified compartments are built for strictly one reason, and that's to smuggle contraband. They're not used to go back and forth to the store and back and forth from home, thereby only having a need for 2 keys on the key ring. Okay, moving on to the next vehicle. This is a Eagle that an investigator noticed had a false trunk. We're going to go to the trunk area and show you how to indicate these false trunks. Okay, this type of trunk that we're going to show you is an extremely common trunk, but it's very effective. These type of trunks have been seized throughout the United States. As you'll notice, if you look into the trunk, and if you don't know what a good trunk looks like, if you don't look at enough good trunks, this looks like a normal trunk. If you're familiar with the Buick Regals, the instant you notice that this portion of the trunk is too high. If you're not sure what year model of vehicle or what type of vehicle you're dealing with, and you don't know if this portion is too high or not, all you have to do is try to pull back the carpet and start looking for false compartment indicators. One very good indicator, and all it takes is a screwdriver, is punching the seams. And if you'll notice, when I punch the seam, that's gooey white caulk that they have spray painted black. Along this seam and up, that is completely false. That is not factory. They've built that, and you can see they've done an excellent job on this vehicle. There are several areas of access that the smugglers like to use. We'll show you the one they used on this vehicle, and then I'll explain to you the other trap doors and the areas that they'll put on them in other vehicles. The canine alerted to this area of the trunk. Evidently the odor from the false compartment was seeping through the back seat and back up, and that's what gave the canine the indication. So you can notice all that's real gooey. It's not hard to detect once you're looking for, once you know what you're looking for. Okay, right now we're at the left rear fender well of the Buick Regal. The way the smugglers access this compartment is through a hole in the fender well that leads to the false compartment. The smugglers had this plate screwed onto it in that fashion, and then they Bondo it and spray undercoating, where if you shine a flashlight under there, it looks natural unless you do some scraping with the screwdriver. Before the investigator ran the narcotic detector canine, he did a knocking trick that is very simple. If you're out there and you do not have access to a canine, these trunks can be knocked off. And it's simply a matter of reaching one hand to the bottom of the trunk area, one hand inside the trunk, and knock. If you can't feel the vibrations, if you don't more or less feel your knuckles meeting, it's a false trunk. All vehicles built have one sheet of metal for a trunk. They don't have 2. So if you reach one hand underneath and one hand on top and knock and it doesn't meet, you've got a false trunk. Okay, what you're seeing here is a close-up view of the trap door under the left fender well. We have the vehicle frame jacked up right now, so Some indicators that we noticed on this vehicle also, it only had 2 keys on the key ring like I explained earlier. And there was a 3-ton hydraulic jack in the trunk of the vehicle. The smugglers used that 3-ton hydraulic jack to jack the frame up to gain access to the trap door in the fender well. What I want to explain to you, if you find one of these trunks and you have trouble locating the trap door, if the trap door is not at one of the fender wells, another common method, the smugglers will have a cut area in this section. Of course, it's going to look good just like this. It's going to be bondoed and repainted. And you can take your screwdriver and scrape along until you find bondo, and that's probably where your trap door is going to be. They'll either access it through there, the fender well, or if you'll remove the rear back seat on the other side, they'll have a trap door back here, just like I showed you on the front. Okay, we're still at the same Buick Regal. We noticed that this section of the false trunk was false, so naturally we would want to check this section. The way to check this section is the same way I showed you on this with the knocking technique. Reach one hand underneath, one hand on top, and knock. See, I can feel vibrations and I can tell my hands meet. That tells me that this section of the trunk is not false. Now, we have encountered numerous trunks where this portion was false, trapdoor access through the middle. This is a 1982 Oldsmobile Toronado. This one also has a fairly unusual false trunk, which we're going to show you in a minute. Once again, this vehicle only had 2 keys on the key ring. Something I forgot to mention earlier, it's common for us to find that the smuggling vehicles usually belong to somebody else other than the driver or one of the occupants. We'll go to the trunk. Okay, once again, if you know the Toronados and you open the trunk, the instant you look in the trunk, you can tell something's wrong. The trunk is not deep enough. If you're not familiar with what year model you're dealing with, you can apply the same techniques that I showed you a while ago to knock this trunk off. This is a fairly unusual trunk for one reason. The investigator noticed that the spare tire would not fit properly and mount on the spare tire rack. Now, this is exactly how a non-modified Toronado is built. It has the spare tire rack coming out of the back seat. Well, when the investigator noticed that the spare tire would not mount, and he noticed the trunk didn't appear to be deep enough, all it was a matter of doing is removing this cardboard carpet, and this is a removable false trunk. The smugglers built this compartment to fit perfectly against the back seat. Once the trunk was removed, I'll get it out in just a second. They had that covered with screws. 38 pounds of marijuana located in this trunk. Okay, something else that might be important to note. This particular removable false compartment will also fit in the Buick Regals, the Buick Regencies. Through the process of elimination, if somebody's going to take the time to build a false compartment of this manner, why wouldn't they build it permanently inside the vehicle like the trunk we saw earlier? The only thing we can figure out is at the source cities that these are being built, there could possibly be hundreds of them, 50, hundreds of them maybe, where all the individual has to do is drive into the source city in a Toronado or a Regency, go to the pickup site, have a compartment that's already loaded, throw it in the trunk of the car, push the spare tire up against it, and go. Okay, the vehicle we're looking at right now is the Ford F-150 XLT. This vehicle has a compartment in it that we're going to show you that's capable of smuggling large quantities of narcotics. What you're looking at right now is the bed of this pickup. But if you look lower, you can see the access trap door to the false compartment. This is a false bed, and believe it or not, these type of modified compartments are extremely common. What I'm going to do in a minute, I'm going to pull the bed liner out of here. You're thinking they covered all their work up with the bed liner. And I'm going to cover this bed, take this bed liner off, and you're going to be surprised. Even without the bed liner, this compartment would be extremely hard to locate. With the bumper mounted on this vehicle, the tailgate on the vehicle, plus the trap door bondoed. Here's my screwdriver. I don't have the screwdriver. Let me grab a screwdriver. They'll bondo this trap door, and I promise you, when you notice one of these, you're not going to be able to drop the tailgate and look down and notice that that's been modified. They do such a good job on it. The easiest way to indicate this compartment, it's just like the tapping the trunk trick. Very simple. One hand underneath, one hand on top. I don't feel any vibrations. My knuckles don't meet. Anytime you get one like this, folks, it's a false bed. The only pickups they ever build has one sheet of metal. It never has two. What we're trying to do is show you ways to indicate these compartments without a canine. And this is a very simple and effective way. Okay, I'm going to remove the bed liner. Probably the only thing that would get your attention would be the bows in the bed. But if you're not careful, you'd think, well, the bed's just been beat up. You can tell what a great job they've done on these. They put them in body shops and spend a lot of time building these type of compartments. It's not going to jump out there and grab you. You're going to have to hunt them, do the knocking tricks, and look for bondo. Okay, we found this plate. It's been laying on the ground and it's rusted somewhat, but that's what covers the trap door. And you can see the layers of bondo. If you get a compartment like this, it's not difficult to count the layers of bondo to figure out how many loads of contraband the vehicle is smuggled. Okay, this is a 1977 Ford Explorer pickup. The smugglers utilized the void areas of this vehicle and modified them somewhat. It's on the interior of the pickup. We'll show you. Okay, what the investigator noticed upon searching the interior of the pickup, there were long screws, short screws, Phillips head screws, flat head screws holding the seat belt cover plate on. All it was a matter of is removing the screws. Then the investigator noticed that the seat belt housing was held on by a large bolt that was only hand tight. Unscrewed it, pulled this out, then you notice the modified compartment for smuggling contraband. What the smugglers will do is get bundles of contraband and tie them to strings and probably loop them around here and drop them down. That way they can be easily removed. You'll also notice in this pickup, which we'll show you on the other post, but I want to show you here, there's a trap door here. The easiest way to knock that off, screwdriver, that's bondo. Takes one little nick, bondo. This is metal. Now I'm getting into bondo. The bondo was so thick on this, which tells us that they used to access this compartment with this trap door, and they rebondoed it so many times this started appearing extremely thick. Thought it'd be easy for us to detect, So they went and started loading it through the top. Now we'll move to the other cab post. Okay, if you look right down here, we're on the driver's side cab post. Look at how thick the Bondo is. Look how many layers of Bondo. And the smugglers either got tired of rebondoing and painting, or like I said, it just got so thick they thought it'd be easy to detect, and that's why they went to loading it through the top. This is another old model Ford pickup. It would be hard for me to show you this type of compartment without removing the bed. But again, this is a cab post compartment load, and the area of access is to remove the bed, and the trap doors are between the bed and the cab. A canine should give a strong indication in this area right here. Shaft on that Toyota pickup. We cut it with the bandsaw, and inside you can see the green leafy seedy substance believed to be marijuana. Gord. Before we drilled it on the interstate with the drill bit, we noticed this man-made weld. It's not a machine weld like this end has. And what they apparently did was cover this with grease and oil. We'll be digging the marijuana out and get it all in one sack to see how much we've got. Okay, when we dug that small amount of marijuana out of this end of the drive shaft, we noticed this tin foil. The mechanics that are here with us advised that they would have had to put something in there to keep the heat from burning the marijuana when they welded this back up. That's tin foil. Let me shine the light on it. All right, that's making it worse, Bear. Okay. All right. Owen? Yeah. We're digging the marijuana out of the drive shaft. Interstate prior to the canine alert, we'd crawled under the vehicle, noticed the shiny bolts, which are indicators of recent removal on the gas tank, and the strap was not lined up like it should be. So we knew the gas tank had been dropped. Then we ran 2 narcotic detector canines around the vehicle, and they both crawled under the vehicle and alerted to the gas tank. Okay, this section of the gas tank looks like it's been heated, and based on our experience, we know that they put separate compartments inside these gas tanks to separate it from the gasoline, and that's what we think this is right now, where they've heated that up and done some welding and brazing to build a compartment inside. Okay, they've got the gas tank dropped, and it looks right here like, well, we know that that's a trap door in the gas tank. We're fixing to open it up and see what's in it.
I'm taking a flathead screwdriver. We're going to work on this compartment.
Okay, we stopped the film to take 35mm pictures. Right now it looks like a cardboard box wrapped with tape with some gray packaging of some type in it. we're going to take this out and see what's in it. As we told you earlier, it does have that compartment built into it separate that we thought it would have. Compartment runs all the way back to there, so this does not hold much gas. Over 3/4 of the tank is false compartment. And I'm disappointed. I figured there'd be more cash than that. Did you?
I wouldn't be real disappointed.
Looks like 3 bundles. So.
There's more bundles. Yeah.
And this being 10,000, this being 5,000. Of course, we have not counted it yet. This is the money that we seized from the driver. He told us the gentleman that had him drive this car to El Paso gave him for expense money. It's going to be 100, 50, 60, 70, 80, 5, 86, 87, 88, 89, $189. We are going to file civil seizure on the currency. This time, we're not charging the driver with any criminal offense. We will seize the automobile also. Okay, the packages you see now is what we took out of the false compartment. This is suspected marijuana. This is what the trunk looked like when I popped it. I instantly noticed the trunk was not deep enough. I pulled this part out. This is a compartment molded to fit in the trunk. On the back of the trunk was this trap door, like that. I unscrewed the trap door, and inside was all of the gray packages containing suspected marijuana. The gentleman was arrested for possession of marijuana. He will be booked into Ector County. He then advised there's approximately 270 pounds of marijuana back here in the duffel bags. The cardboard boxes also have bricks of marijuana in them. We did find out later that he was actually going to Atlanta, Georgia instead of Dallas. He'll be arrested. He's arrested and he'll be booked into the Ector County Jail for aggravated possession of marijuana in violation of the drug tax stamp. The dog was indicating the door rocker panel area. We took opened the door. We unscrewed the rock. Same date, January 8th, 1994. We finished counting the money. The 3 packages found in the driver's side rocker panel totaled $15,000. The 6 packages found in the passenger side rocker panel totaled $29,995. It lacked $5 of being $30,000. These are the 10 packages we found in the motor compartment of the vehicle that totaled $50,000 for a grand total of $94,995. The driver and passenger stated that they don't know where this money came from, they don't want it, they don't want to have anything to do with it. Okay, that's all the compartments we're going to show you today. For a quick recap, remember an extremely good indicator are the key rings with only 1, 2, or 3 keys on them. The drivers or the occupants usually do not own the vehicles. And remember the tapping technique. It's extremely simple but very effective on the false trunks and the false beds. Don't think for a minute that the smugglers are not using these same type compartments on the highways that you have jurisdiction in. Thank you.